Alright, today I'd like to talk about two things. The first is file naming, and the second is how to sort footage in preparation for a post session. Our file naming system is really simple. There are three main sections, each section separated by an underscore. The first section is the date, and that's broken down by year, followed by month. So this is 2015, and the production mostly took place in March. The second section is the client. Usually we use an abbreviation, but for Joseph Tame, he gets his whole name in the file. The third section is what the project is, and this is a little bit more complicated. The first thing you'll see are two characters. In this case, it's MM. That stands for movie make. When it's a movie make project, that means we're shooting and we're doing post-production, and we'll be doing some pre-production as well. We have a series of different codes for the different types of projects we do. AU would be recording audio. FM would be just filming but no post-production when we're called out to be camera operators. AN would be an animation project. ED, that would be editing. And DS would be like a design project. Anyway, you don't have to remember all this right now. We will have a PDF available that you can download and keep on file just to have as a reminder. That double character code is followed by a number, and that number represents the production. So this is the first movie-making production we did for Joseph Tame in March of 2015. If we did another movie-make project with Joseph Tame, it would be MM002. Or if we did an animation project, that would be AN001, because it would be the first animation project that we would do with him. All right, that's that for the file naming system. We will come back to this later. It shows up a lot in every step of the workflow. But let's talk a little bit about sorting footage. When you get footage, usually what you'll have, this was a 2-day shoot. We're just going to look at day one for this example. And the video comes in 7 reels. The first reel we did was all interviews, so that's labeled a little bit differently, just because it's exclusively one type of footage. Then we got to reel 2, reel 3, reel 4, reel 5, blah, blah, blah. And in those folders, you'll see we have a bunch of files, and none of them carry any names. Not very useful for an editor. Let's take a look at, I think it was reel 6 that I wanted to... No, it was not. Reel 4? Well, anyway, let's get to reel 4. Doesn't really make much of a difference. I think you'll understand what we're doing as you see us do it. First thing you should do is go into icons. And this will bring up all your files with an easy to see icon. This is a bit more, it's smaller than CoverFlow, but it's more efficient, and you'll see why in a moment. So we've got all these files, and we need to assign colors to them. We're going to assign the colors not only in Finder, but also in Premiere. So, how do you know what colors to assign to each type of clip? Well, we have a color code system worked out. Red files are the performers or the presenters at an event. If it's a nightclub event, it's more likely that there'll be performers, maybe dancers or musicians, something like that. If it's more of a corporate event, there'll usually be presenters giving a keynote speech. Purple is for people. So these would be your audience members, your party goers, things like that. Blue goes for DJs. We aren't going to see any DJs in this particular event, but that shows up all the time in nightclub events. Green goes to sponsors. Orange is for the environment. And within Finder, you'll see that we have not used yellow or gray. Yellow or gray can be whatever you need for that specific project. Now for this project, we were filming backstage workflow. We were keeping an eye on the people who were doing the production. So in this case, let's just make yellow our backstage staff workflow color. So anytime we see staff working, we would make that yellow. And gray, we will not use gray. All right. Very, very simple to label footage when you're in this view, because you can see, obviously, this is a presenter. We can select multiple presenter clips, right-click, and a presenter would be red. That looks like people. It's people sitting in the audience, so that would be purple. Now what's this? It's a computer screen. I imagine that would best be labeled as workflow. Here's some more people. Another presenter. Presenter. Now this is Mr. Joseph Tame himself operating the live stream. That would be workflow, so we'll make that yellow. Workflow. Let's find some other types of footage. Now here you're seeing the logo of the venue where the event was held. That would definitely be orange for environment. Digital Garage, that's also orange for environment. Orange for environment. Now we're seeing a lot of presenters down here and presenters over here. All right. Now what you want to do is not just one folder, but you want to organize all the folders in this manner. So I'm going to cut the recorder, and the next time you hear from me, it will be with all the files tagged correctly with the appropriate color. Alright, and we're back. Now you'll see that within each reel, we have the files labeled by color, as is appropriate. Now something that happens at this point is we don't need to have reel by reel breakdowns. That was practical while we were on set and transferring cards to make sure that we had each card in a unique folder, but now it's not necessary. So let's get all these files and get them out of their reel folders. Because we are going to rename them, and we want them all to be in one folder together to simplify the renaming process. If all the folders are empty, we can delete them now. And let's get to renaming. Now what you'll see is that we've got all these different colors and they're all jumbled together, and we want to rename each file according to the type of footage it is. Couldn't be simpler. Click up here. Well, you could go to View. No. Where is it? View. Arrange by tags. And nothing happens. There we go. So now you'll see we have all the green. This is not a profit event, so they're not really a sponsor, but Safecast was the main focus of this event, so I've labeled all the Safecast footage as sponsor. Green, you've got all the sponsor, you've got environment footage, you've got your people footage, you've got your speaker, your presenter or performer footage, and you have your workflow, your backstage workflow footage, all separated into these nice groups. Now what we're going to do is use the software Renamer to rename these files appropriately. From the website, you can download these two presets. We have General Renamer and BMCC Renamer. General will apply to most everything except for the Blackmagic. BMCC is for renaming Blackmagic files. We're going to use General. And here we have date, client, project ready to be inserted. Easiest way to do this is to copy from your root folder and paste in. Now you'll notice that we've got 1503 tame MM001. One thing you can do to simplify the files, it's starting to get long. Let's go to 1503 tame MM1, and we are going to start with the sponsor footage. So select all the sponsor footage, drag and drop, and what we want is sponsor, so let's call it SP. You'll see that it automatically calls it 001 through 017. Let's apply that. Now, when you're in Renamer, to make sure you don't accidentally rename all the files at once, it will ask you to authorize the folder that the files are in. One thing you can do is go back to the root folder, and this will authorize all subfolders within that root folder in one approval. So rename, and there we go. Let's get rid of those. And let's do environment. Change that to EN for environment. and apply. Couldn't be easier. Let's go to purple. There's a lot of that. Drag that in there, and we're going to change that to people, PP. And get rid of those. And next we will do presenters. Presenters, PS. And finally, we're going to do workflow. And let's call that WF, workflow. All right. Now we've got all our footage sorted, it's color-coded, it's labeled, so if we ever need to do a Finder search, we can easily find these by the name of the file. Time to move into Premiere and get our session started. Alright, with Premiere loaded, what you want to do is start a new project. Now this new project should bear the same name as the root folder, so we can paste that from the renaming. And you want to go to the location and make sure that the location is with, right now it's in 1502 GDL, it should be in 1503 tame. And from there, create a new folder and call that folder Adobe. And we're just going to put all our Adobe files in here. So create that new folder, choose that folder, and now everything should be good to go. Alright, first thing you have to do is import media. Let's get the video in. To do that, we might have to shrink this window a bit. And let's drag and drop the sponsor footage in. It'll take a little minute for it to process the files. One thing you can do to make your life easier is to create bins. And we'll call this one sponsor. And we're going to take all that footage and drop it in to the sponsor folder. Another thing you should be doing as you import footage is selecting all the sponsor clips, right-clicking, and labeling with something that sounds green, forest. Perfect. So now all this footage is green in Premiere, and it's also green in Finder. Let's just do all the other footage at once. Alright, with all those files imported, what we want to do now is color code the footage appropriately. So you can see here's where people begins, PP001. We're just going to scroll all the way down to PP, how many files do we have of this kind? 187, not bad. And label them violet. Alright. PS, what was PS again? Presenters, so that will be red. Find all the presenter footage. PS. Label. Rows, I suppose. Adobe has this fixation that they have to make everything cutely named instead of just going with simple colors like red, yellow, green, blue. WF is workflow, so that's got to be something. Yellow doesn't exist in the world of Premiere, so we're going to go with iris. Close enough. Environment, that should be orange, which Premiere considers to be called Mongo. Alright, so now we have all these types of footage labeled semi-correctly. You know what we should do? I don't like that workflow is yellow in the Finder, but it's not yellow in Premiere. So what we're going to do is go to Premiere, Preferences, Label Colors. And we used iris, so let's get iris to something more yellow. It's a little too green. And we'll call that Liberty Mustard. because everything has to be cute in Premiere with its beautiful, elegant names. All right, now that's yellow. We've got Liberty Mustard. Let's do more bins. So we're going to do workflow. And we'll drop all the workflow in there. Close that down. Next, we'll do presenters. And we'll drop all the red footage in there. Close that down. Next, people. 187 of those clips. Sorry. And finally, environment. A measly 29 of those clips. All right. Something you can do for cleanliness sake is to make sure that your folders reflect the colors of the footage that is inside them. So we'll go through quickly and make sure all that is congruent. Presenters were rose, aka red on planet Earth. Sponsors were green, aka forest. And workflow was Liberty Mustard. All right, so now we've got our folders correctly labeled, and we've got all the footage inside the folders also correctly labeled. And these labels correspond with everything that's happening in Finder, which makes it very easy to understand what these clips are and how they relate to the clips in here. Next thing we want to do is start laying out our timeline. We're going to prep for the edit. And this is probably the most boring section of the edit. Now what you have to do is go through each clip and pull the best part. We do not expect you to watch every clip in real time. You can just load the clip up in your source window, scrub a little bit. Looks like we have a slight rack focus there. Let's find that rack focus. All right. And drag it into your sequence. All right. One thing that can make your edit go a lot quicker is if you use your keyboard. J, K, and L are very, very handy for playing. L plays forward, hitting L again will play at double speed. K stops, so if you're playing and you hit K, the footage will stop. J plays backwards, tapping it again will play it at double speed. So J, J again, double speed, and so on. When you want to set your in and out points, use the key commands I and O. Very easy. And then when you're ready to drop it in to your timeline, you can use the U key, but only if you download the keyboard layout that we have next to this file. So I and O to set your in and out points. U key will drop the footage exactly as you in and outed it into your timeline. So to give you an idea of what this looks like at regular speed, there's your in, your out point, and U to drop it in. All right, there's your in point, out point, U to drop it in. What we're really going for more than anything else is efficiency. This is the most important thing when you're editing. Speed is not important. Efficiency is important. You can do a fast edit, but it might not be a good edit. And a good edit is one that we can pass off to any member of the team at any time. So you want to have all your files organized and your timelines also organized. What I'm going to do is go through this footage, dropping it into the timeline, And next time you see me, this will be full of video. All right, we've got all the footage sorted, colored, imported, and now it's on the timeline. The next thing we want to do is kind of consolidate it a little and get rid of the audio. Now there's one clip in here. This is the compi. So I don't want to get rid of the audio for the compi. We might use that. It's, all of them saying cheers before they drink. So what I'm going to do is move that down to track 2, to audio track 2. But everything else we can get rid of. It's just the ambient room sounds. Now, you'll see that if you just select the audio, it also selects the video portion. So what you need to do is hold down the Option key as you select the audio. And that will leave the video tracks unaffected. Strike the Delete key, and it's gone like magic. Now the next thing we want to do is organize this footage a little bit more so it's easier to manage as we are editing. So what I'm going to do is take all the footage and kind of stack it up in this manner. So what we have in the bottom row, that's purple, it's got to be people. Next row is red, that's presenters. Then in the top row we have orange, environment, green, sponsor, and yellow, the behind the scenes workflow. And now we are finally, after hours of prep work, ready to edit the film. Now it might seem like we're doing a lot to prepare for the edit, but if you do all this, what you'll discover is the edit goes really, really quickly, and the main benefit, not only do you have an efficient edit to work from now, if you finish this file and you need to pass it off to someone else on the team, they can easily understand exactly what they're looking at. Purple, that's got to be people. Red, that's got to be presenters or performers. So when they come in and they're doing revisions to an edit, or in some cases I will come in and do revisions to an edit, that person will know exactly what they're looking at. Also, this helps immensely for understanding what the data is when we're talking to the client. They might say, hey, do you have more footage of this particular speaker? No problem. We just go into the presenter section and zip through the footage until we find exactly what they need. So, I know it's a lot of prep work before you get into the actual editing environment, but it's very, very important prep work. And now you are ready to edit. Good luck.